Good morning and welcome to Find Your Ideal Customers Online, a webinar with the Tourism Nova Scotia webinar series. My name is Nick Fry. I'm the Manager of Business Development with Tourism Nova Scotia. And for those of you joining us for the first time, Tourism Nova Scotia is the provincial marketing organization that markets Nova Scotia as a vacation destination and leads initiatives to help grow the tourism industry. COVID-19 and the related impacts on businesses have been, very impactful. And this webinar series is here to help offer practical advice and help steer through the pandemic and welcome customers when the time is right. You'll notice on the bottom, we have a transcript. We're trying this out today. So if this is something that you don't want to see, just go to the bottom of your screen and go under CC, just click on that and then unclick the live transcript. If you have any questions on that, just ask it in the chat and we will address that for sure. We're going to go for about an hour today. If we go over, that's okay. We'll make sure that we post the webinar tomorrow. So if you have to leave, that's okay. But if you can stay, that's great. If you have any questions throughout, just pop it in the bottom on the Q&A, and we'll be happy to help you there. Any links and resources we share today, we will make sure we share them out in an email after the fact. A copy of the webinar will be available on tourismns.ca/webinar series. And again, we'll share all those links out later. So today, again, we're going to talk about Find Your Ideal Customers Online with Katelyn Bourgoin, CEO of CustomerCam. And the internet is a big, noisy place. There's so many different opportunities, and we really want to use this hour to talk about how we can really focus on our online activities. So Katelyn's going to provide a 1-hour crash course, and what we're going to focus on today is how to discover where your ideal customers are already gathering, where are they hanging out, how customers search for experiences and products like yours, and how to market to those customers. So it's going to be very valuable, and I'm really excited to have Katelyn here. Katelyn, of course, is the CEO of CustomerCam, 5-time founder and turned growth strategist and trainer. Operational experience spanning the marketing, tech, and hospitality sectors. Katelyn has been named an influential entrepreneur by Forbes magazine, featured in HuffPost, Bustle, and CBC. My screen is covering half of these slides, Katelyn, so I apologize. Katelyn was recognized as one of the top 20 Wonder Women of SSAS Marketing and Growth. Congratulations. And Katelyn's past clients include high growth tech startups, small, medium businesses, business support organizations, Fortune 500 companies like Target and Holiday Inn. So again, so excited to have Katelyn here. Really excited for your presentation, and I welcome you to share your screen. Thanks, Katelyn.
Thanks, Nick. So I am going to share my screen now. And one of the attendees today is my mom. So hi, Mom. I think my aunt might also be attending. Both run tourist business is in Lunenburg. So it's pretty cool when you get to do a presentation and your mom and your family are here to support you. Is everyone seeing my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, awesome.
Great.
Okay. So thank you for attending today. So the next hour, it's going to be jam-packed. You're going to learn about how to find your ideal customers online. And this is a very important topic. Now, for many of you, you may be accustomed to your customers actually finding you in the real world rather than you needing to think about how to find them online. And that's one of the benefits of operating a tourist-focused business. Oftentimes with some great signage or like a good storefront and some word of mouth, people that come to your communities will discover you. But today, so many people are actually planning their vacations and their getaways well in advance and doing lots of research and planning their itineraries from their coaches rather than having to just show up and kind of figure it out as they go. And that means there's a big opportunity for businesses that can get in front of potential visitors virtually first. So we're going to move through a lot of stuff today, but don't worry about taking a ton of notes. As Nick said, you're going to get a link so you can re-watch this video should you like to. I'll also share my presentation slides, so you'll have access to that as well. And before we dive in, I have a question I want to ask you. So I'd love to know what motivated everyone to come today. So pop your answers in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. What's making you want to learn today about finding your customers online? So, what motivated you to attend today? I'm always interested to hear. We've got some people, uh, new insights, Neer says. Awesome. Anyone else want to share kind of what brought them to us today? Starting a new tour operator business. Congratulations, Chelsea. I want to learn how to connect with a broader audience. Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're looking at purchasing a glamping destination. Ooh, Lori, very cool. My goal is to get our co-op gallery members showcased to a broader community. Awesome, Edward. A small B2B with things rapidly changing. Marketing and analyst, so it's important to get the insights. B&B online shop. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, you're definitely in the right place. What's nice about what's challenging with the world right now, but also where there's an opportunity is, again, so many businesses that have opportunity to shift what they might be doing a little bit to offer more experiences online as well. So if that's you, if you're in the position where you're thinking about maybe trying to do more online in addition to your typical experience, you're going to learn a lot today too. So let's talk about who this workshop is right for. It is right for you if you have been at it for a while in business, but you're not getting the results that you want. It's right for you if you feel totally overwhelmed by having to do all the things online and you really want to figure out where to focus your energy and time. And it's right for you if you're brand spanking new to the online marketing and branding world and you really don't know where to start. So before we dive in, I'll quickly introduce myself. So I'm a growth strategist and trainer, as Nick said, and I've been an entrepreneur for about 11 years now. I've built and sold companies in the marketing, tech, and hospitality sectors. Now, I've had the pleasure of working with lots of cool clients over the years, including small businesses, high growth startups, and even Fortune 500 companies like Target and Holiday Inn. And as Nick said, I've been named as an influential entrepreneur by Forbes and featured in some cool publications. And while that sounds impressive, that is the highlight reel. Behind the scenes, things went a little bit more like this. So in other words, I have had my share of flops, mistakes, challenges, just like any other entrepreneur, and I've learned from them. And today I'm, the founder of this business, a business that gets to educate other entrepreneurs and businesses to help them to grow faster. And I'm also building a new business with my husband. So I'll talk a little bit about that shortly. But the goal is I really just want to pass on some of my hard-earned wisdom onto you folks so we can get you out of the red zone and into the yellow zone in your business. So here is the first nugget I want to share. You can do anything you want, but you cannot do everything. So I'm sure that you are smart and talented, and if given the time, I'm sure you could figure out how to master all the different social media channels, all the different marketing channels, but you're also probably a busy entrepreneur and business operator, and chances are time is one of your most precious resources. So the internet, it's this big place, and there are over 4.5 billion people that are online every single day, and there's a lot of other businesses that are competing for your customers' attention. So if you try to be everywhere, you try to do all the things, you're probably just going to burn out. And this is one of the big mistakes I see a lot of businesses making. So they don't really know where to focus. They're feeling a bit overwhelmed by everything, and they're trying to do a little bit of everything. And because they don't know where to focus, they end up feeling like nothing is really working. They're putting time into lots of different things, but nothing's really working. Now, I do not want you to make the same mistakes. So instead, we're going to start by figuring out where might your audience already be hanging out so we can get your message in front of them. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about identifying your ideal customer. If you don't know who you're looking for, how can you find them? We're going to talk about exploring your customer's buying journey. So thinking about how your customers actually come to experiencing your products, services, accommodations. So what journey do they go on to get to your doorstep? And we're going to talk about figuring out where your ideal customers hang out. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about choosing which specific marketing channels you may want to prioritize. So everything in this workshop, I want it to be really actionable for you. I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'm actually going to walk you through exactly what we did with my husband's business so you can see a real world example. And this is my husband. This is Jason. So Jason is a chef by trade, but he'd been working as a contractor in the oil and gas sector. And he actually lost his job because of the pandemic. There was no travel, so he couldn't get new contracts for oil rigs. And this was an opportunity for him to return to his first love, which is food. And he started a company called Charboys. So at Charboys, we deliver epic meat kits to our customers' doorsteps each month. And each box is themed and it includes chef-inspired ingredients that you can't get anywhere else. So it's sort of like happy food is what I like to say. So we launched Charboys about 9 months ago, and it's been a bit of a wild ride. So the research techniques that I'm going to share with you that we did, it helped us to figure out where we should be spending our effort and time. So it helped us to grow an audience of over 5,000 people across our 3 different primary channels in about 9 months. It helped us identify potential promotional partners, which can be so valuable for businesses like ours and probably for a lot of businesses like yours, which led to collaboration opportunities with brands like Boxing Rock Brewery, Keith's, and the NSLC. It helped us to identify media opportunities so that we could get coverage on actually almost every major media outlet in Nova Scotia, like CTV, Global TV, Chronicle Herald. And when we first launched our very first box, we actually sold out in 48 hours without spending any money on advertising. So Charboys isn't specifically a tourist-focused business, but I know that you can all relate to Jason's story because out of nowhere, the business he was doing before changed and he needed to figure out how to change with it and figure out how to sell to a different customer base than he was accustomed to. And everything that we did at Charboys, it's going to be applicable to your businesses too. So let's talk about what we did. So first, let's get into how to identify your ideal customers. So if you want to find your ideal customers online, it goes without saying that probably you should know who those customers are, right? How can you find something if you don't know what you're looking for? Now, I don't mean that you need to like literally know the names of your customers or the hyper specific details about them. That can be really valuable, but what you really want to know at a higher level is what types of people is your business best positioned to serve. So these are some questions you might want to answer as we go through this process. You want to know, what do those people look like? What problems are they trying to solve, or what pain points do they have? Now, you might not think about what you do as solving a problem, but in fact, you probably do. Maybe those people want to curb their boredom when they're in a new place. Maybe they want to explore a new community, but they have mobility issues, so they can't go walking. They need another solution. Maybe their kids have spent their whole vacation on their iPads and they want to get them out into the real world. And they want to come up with a really fun activity that they can do as a family so they can make some memories. So these are the types of problems that your customers might be looking to solve. You want to ask, what might trigger them to look for a new solution? How do they go about actually looking for solutions? This is an important one. What progress are they trying to make? Again, if they're trying to create that family memory, that's the progress they're trying to make. What objections might stop them from buying your product or service? And what's their desired outcome? At the end of it, what do they hope will happen? What do they want to achieve? So answering these questions, it can really help you to kind of like identify different groups of customers that you might be well benefited to serve. And in the marketing world, we would call this your ideal customer segment. So let's look at some examples. Lululemon, they might target, their segment might be health conscious yogis and fitness enthusiasts. So that's like a segment that Lululemon might target. Although with the pandemic, I feel like everybody is wearing yoga pants all day long. So their market's much, much bigger now. FreshBooks, it's an online accounting software for small businesses, and their real target are freelance businesses and consultants and digital agencies. And Charboys, our company, we target food-curious suburban and rural parents in Nova Scotia. Now, these are high-level descriptions. They're really just a starting place. To be successful with your marketing, you want to dive a bit deeper. And so this is a snapshot of one of the customer personas that we put together at Charboys. As you can see, it includes lots of information, and getting clear about who your target audience is and what they care about. It's a really important step to getting started with marketing. And the biggest mistake I see a lot of businesses make is that they don't really understand the people they aim to sell to. And as many of you probably know now, you know, you can have the greatest experience in the world, but if you're trying to sell it to the wrong people, you're not going to hit your sales goals. And this is a bigger problem than many of us would like to admit. So I sent a poll out on Twitter, this is about a year ago, and I said, hey, freelance marketers and copywriters, when you first start working with a new client, how often do they need help zeroing in on their best fit customer segments? And as you can see, it was pretty common that this was a problem, but 88% of the time, this was an issue. And when I was working as a marketing consultant back in the day and I had my own agency, it was really something we ran into a lot. You know, a company would hire us, they were ready to spend some money to improve their marketing, but we would come in and we'd see that they really didn't have a deep sense of who their customers were or why those customers bought. And then we'd have to start by doing some of that foundational work, which for the businesses was often frustrating because they just wanted to get to the results really quickly. But as a marketer, you really need to know who your people are before you can start planning your campaigns and figuring out what you're going to do. And so here's the thing. You can't just pick an audience. You can't just say, I want to go after rich people who are going to spend lots of money. You have to understand why those people are going to choose you back. So you can't just pick them. You need to know why they're going to choose you back. Now, we don't have enough time in this just 1 hour workshop to dive deeply into this part. But luckily for you folks, Tourism Nova Scotia has already put together an amazing resource for this. So I'm going to drop a couple links in the chat here. And these are links to an experience toolkit. There's a video on how to identify your best visitor, and there's a tip sheet there. So lots of information for you specific to tourism if you want to dive in and really spend some time thinking about who your best customers might be. So I'm going to show you again, like an example of how we did this. So Charboys. With Charboys, again, it's a meat kit company. We launched in June, and initially we were focused exclusively on barbecue, so ready to grill barbecue. And some people would say at the time that we were kind of like a Good Food or a HelloFresh. Over the last several months, we've evolved a bit and the model has changed a bit. For instance, right now we're not offering barbecue, but we are offering a St. Patty's Day Lucky Burger Box. So we're not just doing barbecue stuff. But at the beginning, we weren't exactly sure who our customers were going to be, but we had a hunch. We thought they might fall into one of these three groups. So we thought maybe our customer segments might be loyal farmers market goers. So we knew selling local products was going to be an important part of what we did. So we thought maybe we're going to go after the types of people who shop only at the farmers market. Or maybe we're going to go after convenience buyers, people who are already buying food subscription boxes like HelloFresh or Good Food. Or maybe we're going to go after those hardcore barbecue lovers, right? The ones who are obsessed with barbecue. And so we had this concept of who we thought they might be. And once we had that idea, we went out and we actually did some one-on-one discovery calls with people who we knew who fell into those customer segments. And we really just wanted to understand more about how they shopped and why they chose the product that they chose. And so we did about 12 discovery calls. And after those calls, we started to see some very interesting patterns. We saw that people who bought food subscriptions boxes, a lot of those people really hated how wasteful they were. There were so many kind of like little bags and so much plastic, and it was something that bothered them, kind of made them feel guilty. And they didn't want to be throwing away so much extra plastic. We learned that they didn't like throwing out the garbage. They loved not having to think about what was for dinner. Not having to think about dinner was a big, big benefit. We also learned that for many households, barbecue wasn't just dinner. It was actually more like a fun experience you could share with your family. And we learned that barbecue was a hobby for some of the people that we talked to, like it was a point of pride for them. They had expensive barbecue accessories. They chose special cuts of meat. It was more than just dinner again. And we learned that it was a social activity among oftentimes families who lived in suburban and rural communities. So you can't just walk down the street and go to your, the trendiest restaurant, but you still want to be able to get together with people. Having a barbecue in your backyard was a great way to do that. And we learned that buying local was important to a lot of people that we talked to, but it was something that they were struggling to do consistently. They would shop at specialty butchers and go to specialty grocers once in a while, oftentimes when they were entertaining guests, but bulk of the time they were shopping at, grocery stores, Costco, that sort of thing. So doing this initial upfront research, it helped us to really understand this market, and it helped us to realize we were going after these food conscious suburban parents. So they knew that, like, they were parents, they were busy, they were, often on the go with young kids at home. They wanted to provide a meal that the whole family would love. They were conscious about what they ate, but they were busy again, like especially during COVID. And so we knew who that audience was. So we wanted to think, well, what's going to resonate with them? So this is one of the images that we use on our first sales page. And you can tell who we're targeting here, right? Because like once you know who your audience is, you can start to think about the right messages that are really going to pull them in. And understanding who your dream customers are, it's the first step to getting started with online marketing. It's going to make everything else so much easier. So I've got a little asset here that might be able to help you. It's a free tool. It's called the Audience Calculator. It helps you kind of compare and contrast different audiences like we did in the beginning when we thought there were those 3 different audiences. I'll pop a link to that in the chat. But if you are interested in learning more about one-on-one discovery calls, some of the things that I've talked about, just like, reach out and ask me some questions. Now we're going to dive into the good parts. So thinking about your customer's buying journey. All right. So once you know who those customers are, you can start focusing on understanding what their buying journey typically looks like. And so the term buying journey, it's really about how do they go from not knowing you exist through to purchasing and using and loving your product. So interestingly, most buying journeys actually follow a very similar path. It starts with a triggering event. So there's an event that happens in their life where somebody first realizes that their current solution is not working. Then they start passively noticing things that might be able to solve their problem. Typically, then there's a catalyst, an event that pushes them into actively looking for a solution. And then there's another catalyst or event where they go, okay, it's decision time. I'm going to make my choices now. They buy, they use, they experience your thing, and then they decide, did it work? Was I happy? Does this, do I want to leave a 5-star review? Do I want to tell people about this? And so the buying journey is really interesting. A lot of people don't think about their customers' buying journey all that deeply. But if you can identify, what types of triggering events are happening in your buyers' lives, what catalysts might move them through the buying journey, you can figure out how to get in front of them online in some pretty interesting ways. So the goal of talking to customers is really just to understand that buying journey. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling luxury cars or a, tour bus experience or barbecue boxes like we were. I guarantee you that there's always an interesting story that led people to buying from you. And so if you want to get these answers, you can try doing something like a survey. You can ask past customers if you have access to them. But oftentimes people don't think really deeply about why they buy things, not at least in the moment of like filling out a survey. People often are not thinking that deeply about it. And the interesting thing here is that 95% of purchases are actually driven by unconscious urges, the biggest of which is emotion. So when you start thinking about your customer's buying journey, really just give yourself time to think, what is the emotional elements that are driving my customers to make decisions? If they buy my product, what's going on in their lives? What's the backstory? And we did this with Charboys and we found some interesting things, which I'll get to. So as you're kind of going on with this experience, it's like, firstly, well, where are your customers? Are they at the stage where they know that they have a problem, that they're actively searching for a solution like yours? And if so, then it's easier to get in front of them in places where they're already looking for solutions like yours, and then sell them on why you're the best option. But in some cases, maybe they don't actually know that they have a problem yet, or they don't realize that they could use a solution like yours. And if that's the case, then you may want to educate them on why they should consider solving that problem, or you want to reframe your offer to fit the problem that they already know they have. So I'm going to show you an example. So with Charboys, we knew that we started things in the middle of the pandemic, and we were actually delivering our first box at the very end of May 28th, our first ones went out. And at that time, many people were working from home. They were afraid of the virus. We didn't have a lot of information about it yet. And it dramatically changed how people were shopping. So we knew that people were going to the grocery stores less frequently. They were sending one person as opposed to the whole family going. They were getting more of their food delivered. So we knew that that was happening. And during that time, they told us they were actually often cooking a lot more at home to relieve stress. So everybody loves comfort food. And they were eating more meals as a family. So everybody was home for dinner. And so rather than the kids going to after school activities or people working late, they were all together more as a family. That being said, we knew these things about our customers' buying journey. They weren't looking for barbecue boxes. So when we did a search, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how to do the search in a moment, I'm going to show you a free tool you can use. We found that only 10 people in all of Canada a month were looking for barbecue boxes. So we couldn't go out and say, hey, people, we sell barbecue boxes, because that's not what they were looking for. But they did have another problem that they were actively trying to solve. So quarantine had led to people becoming a bit shack wacky, and everybody was looking for something fun to do to pass the time. And that was actually a useful insight for us. So rather than us trying to find people who were already looking for a barbecue meal kit, which, as you saw, there weren't very many people doing that, we could market to people who were bored at home. So that was their trigger, boredom. And it was this insight that led to us being able to come up with a really cool launch experience. So we decided to partner with 2 other local brands, and we created a event, an online event with real barbecue delivered to your door. It was called Halifax's Big Barbecue Bash. So it was a virtual event because, of course, it was the time of COVID. We couldn't all be together, but we would deliver real barbecue and beer straight to your customers' doors. And we had like a live beer tasting and cooking classes. And rather, again, than positioning Charboys as a barbecue box, we positioned it as a fun experience that you could share with your friends and family. So we were meeting people where they were in their buying journey. And by partnering with some established brands that already existed, that kind of lent credibility to us. Collaborations are such a powerful tool in business, and a lot of folks could benefit from doing more to collaborate with like brands that might also serve the same audience they do. So maybe in a lot of your cases, maybe people are actively looking for a solution like yours. And if so, you can prioritize being in the channels where they're looking. But if you're more like us, where people aren't actively looking for a solution like yours, then you need to kind of reframe your offer to try to get in front of people who might know that they have a problem and communicate to them how you'll solve it. So again, for a lot of you folks, if people know that they're going on vacation, they're starting to plan, or they know that they're going to go on a weekend getaway, they might be looking for solutions in places like TripAdvisor. Maybe they're searching Airbnb for accommodations. Maybe they're on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace looking for fun things to buy to pass the time, and you could show up there. Maybe they're using Yelp. So again, as you know what it is your audience is looking for, there might be some channels you can already use to get to them. And we'll talk more about those. But if your ideal customers are not actively looking for products like yours, then you've got to find them and you've got to win their attention. And there's lots of places that they could be hanging out. So let's talk about finding your customers' hangouts. All right, so finding your customers' hangouts. In the marketing world, we call these channels. So simply put, a marketing channel, it is a place where you can get your product or your service in front of your target customer. So there's lots of channels you're probably familiar with. Facebook is a marketing channel. TripAdvisor is a marketing channel. A local blog, somebody in your community who's a blogger, that's a marketing channel. Sending an email newsletter is a marketing channel. YouTube is a marketing channel. Instagram influencers, their marketing channels, and review sites like TripAdvisor, Yelp, those are also marketing channels. So this is an overview of some of the more popular marketing channels. And you can see some of the obvious ones here like Facebook, Twitter, but then there's some less obvious ones that can be really powerful for businesses. Things like PR, like getting media attention, getting people to write about you, or being, trying to get on the news, or social referrals, which is one of my favorite, getting the people who already love what you do talking about you. So really social referrals, it's just a fancy way of saying word of mouth. But word of mouth is one of my absolute favorite marketing channels. For a lot of you, you're probably already leveraging it in your business. And it's really powerful because consumers actually say that 77% of their purchase decisions were swayed because of word of mouth. So anything you can do to generate some positive word of mouth can be really good. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh my God, Katelyn, that's so much, overwhelming, do not panic, because you do not have to master all of those marketing channels, not even close. You really often only need to focus on nailing 1 or 2 channels in the beginning to start gaining momentum. So if that all sounds good, where do you start? Well, it's time to roll up your sleeves and do a bit of research. And there are some different tools that can help you. So first of all, again, if you're talking to your customers, which I always recommend, then you can ask them, how did you find us? What brought you to us? Such an important question to ask buyers. For some of you, a lot of you are probably taking payments online. That means that you're probably getting your customers' emails. A follow-up survey where you ask, how did you find out about us? We'd love to know. That can give you some really good insight into where people might be discovering you. Next, you can do some competitor research. So are there businesses like yours that are already serving your dream customers? If so, go to their websites and visit them on social media and see where they're spending their time and energy, and see what type of content they might be creating and posting. So maybe they do a lot on Instagram and they have lots of followers there, people are really interacting with them, but they have a Twitter account and they're not really active on it. That might give you a clue around what type of content your audience might engage with too. Or maybe your competitors have focused, they're all about getting lots of press. Maybe you could say, hey, maybe I should try to get some press too. How can I get the media to pay attention to my business? And then you can do a quick Google search. So Google is often a researcher's best friend if you know what you're looking for. So with our case with Charboys, we knew that we were targeting these, food curious people, people who love food and people who lived in Nova Scotia, because that was our market, as it is for many of you, probably all of you. So I Googled food bloggers in Nova Scotia. And this search revealed a short list of popular bloggers from the Coast website. And from there, I could go through and explore some of their blogs. I could see what social media channels they were active on. It gave me a good insight as to where people who might be interested in food were getting information and spending their time. So these are all easy, free tools. There's another neat tool that I want to show you. It's also, there's a free version of this tool. For some of you, it could be really, really a cool thing to use in your business. For others, it might not be as helpful, but I'm going to walk you through it. It's a tool called Spark Toro. So I've got it open here. Let's just go in here. So Spark Toro is sort of like a search engine, but instead of searching the whole internet, you can search to try to learn about what your customers are talking about, what they're reading, what social media accounts they follow. It basically allows you to discover where an audience spends their time online. And with Spark Toro, you can actually do 10 searches each month for free. So that means that you can sign up and you can do some searches for free. So let's use an example here. Let's pretend that maybe I run a business, the glamping business. That was a great example. Somebody's thinking about starting a glamping thing. So let's assume that our audience then is maybe all about camping. So let's put in here, we say, frequently talks about, I'll put in camping, discover now. And I'm going to add a location because we don't want to know everybody in the world who talks about camping. We want to know Nova Scotia specific. So I'm going to put in that. And now it's going to show me just Nova Scotia results. So it's scanning the whole internet. It's looking at all these different websites and it's saying what types of things are people who often talk about camping also doing. So it tells us, they're using phrases in their bios like Nova Scotia, Halifax. It shows us some of the social accounts that they're following. So interesting, the Sydney Morning Herald. Maybe there's a lot of people in Cape Breton that love camping. It gives us some of the websites that they're following, and you can dig in and go a bit deeper. With a free version of Spark Toro, you can't go into the weeds. I think it only shows you like the first 10 examples, but you're seeing here like ABC News, Julia Gillard. Interesting. She's the 27th Prime Minister of Australia. I'm surprised that she's such an influencer for this audience. But you can start to see here, you can dig in and you can start to see what type of people are people that are interested in camping following. And that can help you to figure out, are there collaborations that we can do? Are there, maybe if we wanted to pick a channel to spend our time on, we might look at what other people are doing on that channel. Let's assume you knew a little bit about that camping audience and you wanted to do a bit more research. Maybe you know that they're following a brand like, our friends of mine have a company called A for Adventure. And so I'm going to go in and look that they follow that account. So I want to look for everyone who's following A for Adventure. I want to know a little bit more about those folks. So I'm going to hit search and it's going to tell me some more stuff. So maybe A for Adventure has a similar audience to me. So what are we learning here that could be useful? Da, da, da. Well, we can see that they, that they're Nova Scotia. These are all kind of like geography based, but like they care about the environment. They're active. They use, their pronouns in their descriptions, meaning they probably have like, when it comes to social responsibility, that's something that's important to them. They're talking about the coast. They're talking about hiking. And let's see what people they're following on social media. So the trail shop, so that could be a good spot. If the trail shop, maybe they have a bulletin board that you could put up a poster in. They've got Halifax Trails, Halifax Cycling. So these are showing you, these are the other types of people and businesses and media outlets that my audience is already paying attention to. A great way to get in front of your audience as you're just getting started or you're trying to grow is by collaborating or partnerships, again, with other people, brands, or organizations that have your audience's attention already. So, if you really think, oh, I like, Run Nova Scotia is a big one. Maybe I want to do a sponsorship of their next run. It's just giving you good insight. Nikki Jabor, she's my husband follows her. She's a gardener. Maybe there's an opportunity to do some type of cool collaboration with Nikki. So you're starting to get a sense of where those people might be hanging out and where they spend their time. So again, Spark Toro, you can do 10 searches for free. What I would recommend is before you go straight there, do a little bit of Googling first so that you can get a sense of who some of the other social accounts might be that your brand's following. Do a little bit of audience research before you go to Spark Toro, then you can make the most out of your 10 free searches. Okay, so going back to our next one. So now we're going to use a tool called Audience Insights from Facebook. And so a lot of you probably already have Facebook accounts for your business. And if you do, you have to have a Facebook business page to be able to use this, but you can click through, and I'm going to just show you some examples here. So with Facebook, you can decide to search just your page. You can just look at people who are connected to your page, or you can search everybody on Facebook. Now, if you have a fairly large following on Facebook, you can get a lot of good insight by looking at your page. But for most businesses, a lot of smaller businesses, your following might not be huge yet. So it might be good. Claudia says my screen froze. Are you guys seeing Facebook Audience Insights on the screen right now? It's back. Okay, great. All right. So for a lot of you, you might be better served rather than just looking at your page to look at everybody on Facebook and then kind of like see your results that way. So I'm going to look at everybody on Facebook. So by default, this is going to be very, very generic. And then I'm going to think again, let's use our camping example again. So Nova Scotia is going to be our location. And let's think, what are our audience interested in? Well, maybe they're interested in camping, right? And maybe we think they're also interested in Parks Canada, right? That might be something that they're interested in. Maybe they are into hunting, let's just say, for example. So now we're starting to put in some different interests that they might have. And
Katelyn,
yes.
Sorry, this is starting to jump in, but do they suggest anything that they may like, or do you have to kind of guess yourself?
Unfortunately, they don't. Now, if you were to look at a brand that has a large following, then you wouldn't necessarily need to put in all of these criteria, and you could just go straight to seeing what they're following. So for instance, with, let me show you, if you had a sense that Parks Canada might be one of interest and you just put in Parks Canada. So I'm going to turn off some of these other ones. So you're like, I know Parks Canada is something that my people are interested in. Might need to reload that.
Sorry for throwing you off your train there. I just was wondering, just from a user perspective, how that
would
work.
be nice if they did. But when you're looking at your own page, if you happen to have a large following, then you'll see a lot there already. You don't need to think about adding all those interests because it'll kind of like pull up a lot of those interests for you. Looks like sometimes this is it's been a little funky on me lately. Facebook is always making lots of changes. Let's see here, Parks Canada. don't know why it's not loading. Let me try going back and reloading it. Just give me 1 sec, folks. Lori's asking, is outdoorsy something to search? So with the way that Facebook allows you to search, they have their own interests that they've already preloaded in, but then you can also look at brands. So like if there was a like outdoor magazine, if they had a large following, you could search by that. But specific terms that describe the person, they don't have as many of those. So it's not as ideal for that. For Spark Toro, you could search, you could use the word outdoorsy and you could see what comes up because they allow you to search for that. All right, so here's all of Nova Scotia. Now let's put in Parks Canada so we can refine our results more. All right, now let's go to see, for some reason it's not showing me. Let me put in Parks Canada. Oh, that's because I'm putting in employers of Parks Canada. We don't want that. Parks Canada. Let's try the second one. It's not showing me interested in. National Parks of Canada. Let's try that one. Interest. Okay, National Parks. So we can already start to see some interesting things about our audience based on this. So we can see that, 75% of that audience are women, 25% are men. We can see their age ranges. So a lot of them tend to be a bit younger. We can see some of their relationship status. So a lot of them are married, their education. If we go into page likes, we're going to see some of the other brands that they follow. So McNabb's Island, that showed up for us over on Spark Toro as well. So again, is there any way that we can use that in our marketing later to help us be discovered? Could we do a collaboration with McNabb's Island? Is there a way to co-promote with McNabb's Island? Lots of interesting things there. So they're hiking trails of Nova Scotia. Live Life in Tents is an agency, eco tour agency that they're interested in. Halifax Adventure, Halifax Recycle. So again, collaborations are such an awesome way to get in front of your target audience. And this is showing you lots of folks that you might be interested in collaborating with. If you want to get even more specific, let's see, the activity one usually isn't very useful. It's just telling you kind of like how they use Facebook. Do they use it on their phone mostly? What type of phone do they use? We don't really care about that stuff, so we're not going to pay attention. But let's put in let's put in camping and just kind of refine these even a little bit more. And so now we're seeing some slightly different results. So we're seeing Blue Nose RV Center. We're seeing that they eat at Two Boys Smoked Deli, right? We're seeing Irwin Chalets comes up. My husband and I have a gift card for there, which we need to use, but they're always full. So we'll use that eventually. Some distilleries. So again, we're seeing some interesting things here. It's telling us what other complementary interests our audience might have. And that gives us some opportunity to think about how do we partner, collaborate, or leverage that knowledge when it comes to getting in front of our audience. So Facebook Insights, again, for some of you, there could be some really interesting stuff here. For others, maybe not so much. But we used this when we were coming up with Charboy's plan, and we went through and we did a search. And of course, we found that a lot of our audience, they were also interested in craft beer. And that's what led us to do a partnership with Boxing Rock Brewery. So when you start to find these little nuggets, you can think creatively about how you might be able to leverage those nuggets. Okay, so now let's talk about if customers are actively looking for you, right? These are ways you can figure out where your customers might be hanging out and who they're influenced by, so you can try to get in front of them for in those channels. But what about if they're actually already looking for you? Let's talk about that a little bit. We want to help them find us. So a great way to do this is by using keyword research, using Google. So we're all familiar with Google. Most of us may not know how you actually get to show up on Google. So you can either buy your way in that you pay for ads, or you can earn your way in. I'm going to show you a little bit of both. So ads in the marketing world, we call that SEM, or search engine marketing. And when you do a search for meal kits in Nova Scotia, you'll see that the first 4 results that Google shows you are ads. That means that those people are paying to get in front of people searching for meal kits in Nova Scotia. And when you scroll down the page a bit more, you'll see some of what are the organic listings. So you'll see Organic means that they're showing up there because Google thinks that they're the best search results that people should be paying attention to. And so you can see there's an article from the Chronicle Herald on delivered meal kits are the most popular in Atlantic Canada's kitchens. You can see another brand there, Sauté, that does delivery. So those two brands are showing up. They've been able to do some work to get their pages to rank on Google so that they show up high in the Google results. So what they're doing is called SEO, or search engine optimization. And unfortunately, SEO is not a quick fix. It's not something you can just kind of snap your fingers and have happen. But you can plan and decide, is SEO something that you should even focus on in your business? Is it something you might want to hire somebody to help you with? Is it something you might want to spend some time learning about? Or is it not necessarily the important channel for you? So if you want to start by just doing a little bit of keyword research yourself, but to figure out, is this even a place I should spend my time? Should I hire somebody to help me with this? Should I try to learn more about it? You can use this tool called Ubersuggest. And Ubersuggest, again, allows you to do a certain number of searches each month for free, so it's handy. I've logged in here, but you would have to log in for the first time, and it's quite easy to do. But I'm going to do a keyword overview. And I'm going to go in, and again, I'm going to show you my example. Unfortunately, Ubersuggest does not allow you to search just for Nova Scotia. You have to look at all of Canada, but it can still be useful to see, like, are people looking for me? So I'm going to put in meal kits plus Nova Scotia, right? So that'll help me to get results for that. Okay, so the right away here, it's showing us some interesting information. So it's showing us that let's see here, the amount of searches that are happening. Search volume, 0. So I don't think that this is actually accurate, because there's definitely people that are searching for meal kits Nova Scotia. I don't know why that's showing up as 0. Let me try barbecue. So I've done this before and it was definitely not 0. I'm wondering if, again, they might have made a tweak here. Barbecue box. So you can do 3 searches a day here. Okay, so now we're seeing that the search volume for this is 210 people each month. That's how many people they estimate each month are searching specifically for barbecue box. And the SEO difficulty, that means if I wanted to put time into creating content on my website so that it would be optimized and show up on Google, how hard would that be, from 1 to 100? Well, it says it would be about a 49. So that's pretty tough, right? It's not the easiest in the world to do. And then if I wanted to pay to get in front of people who are searching for that, what's the paid difficulty? Well, it's 100. That's the highest it can be. And so that goes to show you that it's really competitive if you want to do ads in this space. How much do those ads typically cost? Well, they're going to cost you about 50 cents for every click. So for Charboys, it doesn't necessarily make sense for us to target Google and ads as a channel for us. We don't necessarily want to pay 50 cents per click. It's not necessarily a good strategy for us because it's highly competitive. We might be better served to try to do partnerships, which is a big part of how we do business. But let's look at another business. So things to do in Lunenburg. Again, I'm from Lunenburg, and lots of tourist-driven businesses there. Let's see what comes up here. All right, so we were getting a decent number of people searching for this each month, 390. The SEO difficulty, it's actually pretty low compared to the one that we just did. So that means an 8 out of 100. So that means that if you want to be discovered, your website, when people are searching for things to do in Lunenburg, then you might be able to use blogging to be able to get to be shown on that first page. It's not going to be as hard as some of the other searches. And paid difficulty, it says it's a 9. It's not super competitive, but the cost of each click is a bit higher. That's probably because this is such a specific search that it's a little bit more expensive to get those clicks. So again, it's not going to be as competitive as the barbecue box example. You're getting a decent amount of search volume. We're not in the key season right now and we can't travel, so we're probably not seeing a lot of people searching for that. But this is just, the reason I share this example is that if you do a little bit of research on your own, you can learn enough so that if you decide you do want to make Google and search engine traffic a part of growing your business, you can reach out to people who can help you, or you can spend more time learning it. It's good to just do a little bit of exploration. Let's just look at one more. We could do tours in Lunenburg and see if that comes back different. Oh, I'm at my daily limit. So unfortunately, you guys will have to search that one on your own. So again, the goal here is just learn a little bit to see if search engine ads might be worth using in your business. There's lots of people you can find that can help you with those, some local, some from away. So it may be worth testing. If people are looking for solutions like yours, it may be worth spending the time and energy on trying to get them to find you organically on Google, or investing in some ads so that people can discover your business that way. Again, this is my mom's business, Seaweed Tours. I did this search back a few months ago. And again, people for things to do in Lunenburg at the time, we weren't closed down, so the search volume was a little bit higher. It was 590 people searching every month for that. And at the time, because it was after the peak season, there was the actual cost to pay for ads was zero then. So that would have been a really good time if she was still doing tours to be able to maybe spend some money on search engine marketing. So that's just a little bit about search engine marketing. Now let's talk about choosing which channels to prioritize. So you have a good sense of what's out there, how you might be able to discover people. How do you decide what the right ones are for you? So when it comes to digital marketing, there's kind of like three ways to think about it. You've got your paid channels. We just talked about some of those. Paid channels are ones that you have to pay to use. So it could be pay-per-click on Google. It could be social media ads. It could be hiring an Instagram influencer to talk about your experience or product. Those are all paid channels. Then there's what we call owned channels. These are the ones that you own. So that's your website, your blog, your social media profile. If you are building an email list, that's your email list. So those are the more ones that you own. And then there are earned channels. So earned channels are things like getting media coverage, like being in the news, having people write about you. So maybe bloggers write a post and they include your business. It could be people sharing your business with their friends on social media, or it could be when people promote your business for free. So influencers that decide to promote your business for free. So all of these kind of work together oftentimes when it comes to getting in front of the right people. And they all kind of have their pros and their cons. So if you're trying to decide where should I pay attention, what should I focus on, it's good to know the pros and cons. So the trade-offs are that if you are paying to get your message out, it's going to be fast, but it's going to cost you some money, right? So you need to consider if that makes sense for your business. If you are trying to build an audience on channels that you own by getting them to come and visit your website or getting them on your email list, it's going to cost less, it's going to be low cost, and it's going to have a lot of long-term value, but it will take you more time to do that. That's a lot of your time to build up those owned channels. And if you're focused on earned channels, like getting media attention, getting other people sharing your business, word of mouth, that stuff is super, super highly persuasive. It's really a good way to get people to buy, but it's not often reliable. You don't know for sure that the media is going to cover your story or that somebody's going to share. So it's unreliable. So you just have to ask yourself, like, which trade-offs are you willing to make? Which channels make the most sense for you? If you have very little time, but you know that people are searching for a business like yours, then ads might be a really good fit for you. If don't have, you're not interested in learning a lot about blogging or email writing, but you know that you love collaborating with other brands, then maybe trying to do some earned stuff would be a good fit for you. All right. And here's the other thing. You're supposed to have fun when you do this. One of the big mistakes people make when they're trying to figure out this whole marketing thing is they decide, oh, I have to do this because like other people are doing it that way. You should choose the things that also work for you that are fun. So showing up online and marketing your business consistently, it might feel like hard work, but it's going to be a lot easier if you actually enjoy it. So maybe you're somebody who loves to write and share your opinions. If that's you, maybe LinkedIn or Twitter would be good channels for you. For a lot of you guys, because of the being a tourist focused business, LinkedIn is not going to really be a priority. Maybe you're really creative. You love creating, creating, gathering pictures, that sort of thing. Maybe you want to spend some time on channels like Instagram or TikTok. Maybe you like presenting and being in the public. Maybe you want to do workshops and webinars and cool things with your audience that way, similar to what we're doing right now. Or maybe you're all about relationships and you're a natural people person, and your best way of building your business is going to be through collaboration, networking, working with other businesses. And if that's you, then maybe partnerships are a really good way to grow your business. So again, going back to our Charboys example, we knew that our dream customers, they were food lovers, they wanted to up their culinary game, and they liked learning new cooking techniques and new recipes. My husband, though, he doesn't love writing, so he didn't really want to do a blog. He didn't want to be committing to having to write a blog all the time. So what we do instead is we actually do a live cooking show where he shows people how to cook things. We do it every Friday night. So again, just because your audience might like to enjoy a certain type of content doesn't mean you can't adjust your strategy to be more about what you like. So we ended up focusing on Instagram as a channel, on Facebook Lives, doing our Facebook Lives often and getting collaborations and press. We do a lot with our email list. We're always trying to grow our email list, and we're going to be putting out a YouTube channel. This is us. My husband also has a marketer as his wife. So we're able to kind of do some more of this stuff. Again, for you guys, it might be finding 1 or 2 channels that you really enjoy spending time on and focusing there. And then for many of you, really thinking about how can I generate word of mouth and how can I do more collaborations. So if you know what your audience is interested in and what type of content you actually enjoy creating, it's going to be so much easier for you to show up consistently. All right, so let's just wrap things up. We've covered a lot today. We're right on time at 1 o'clock. So I want to give you 3 takeaways from today. If you want to find your customers online, you have to know who those ideal customers are. And this is really the starting place of your marketing strategy. So again, the links that I shared to those resources from Tourism Nova Scotia, check those out. Make sure you give that some thought. You don't need to do all the things. You really only need to nail 1 or 2 channels to start getting some momentum. For some of you probably already have channels that are working in your business. And so maybe it's investing more time in those. Maybe it's looking at, am I ready to add something new? But you don't have to do it all. You don't have to be overwhelmed by it all. Start with some research to kind of narrow it down. And it's easier to show up consistently and to get results when you're having fun. So look about how you can do channels that are fun. And that's it for me today, folks. Now there's a lot of great resources that you're going to get links to. These will all be shared with you in the post follow-up. So I'll make sure everybody gets those links. But I'd love to hear what everyone thought of today's class, hear if there are any questions. Of course, I love to get feedback from the audience to know if this was helpful to you. Thank you, Neera. I'm so glad. Lori loved it. Awesome. Thanks, Lori. That's my mom. As I said, she likes to use exclamation points and caps, and I love her. Fantastic. And that's my Aunt Liz, also a cap and exclamation mark. They're too cute. Lots of great tips. Thank you so much, everyone. So now is an opportunity for some Q&A. And I think that, Nick, you're going to help with that, right?
Yeah, I am. That's really great feedback. We'll also send out a survey tomorrow or early next week, just to get your feedback on the presentation, which seems to be very positive. So you can just put that in as well, and we'll share that with you. It also gives everybody an opportunity that participated to give some feedback to help shape future webinars. If there is any questions, let's see. Thank you. Lots of great info. Any comments about using LinkedIn?
Yeah, so with LinkedIn, what I would say is LinkedIn might be a good way to connect with business owners that you might want to collaborate with. But for most people who are searching for a tourism experience, it's unlikely they're spending any time on LinkedIn. You want to think about like what is the intent of what they're doing in that social channel. People who are on Facebook and on Instagram, they're kind of there to be entertained. Some of us, if you work in marketing, you're there because you have to use those channels for your work. But when people are on LinkedIn, they're usually thinking all business. They're not thinking about travel and tourism and experiences. So I would say if you're using it to connect with other business owners to talk about collaborations, it might be a useful channel. If you're there promoting your experience or your offering, you might find that you don't get very much attention or engagement there because that's not the reason people are there.
Well, that's great insights. You know what? We have a few questions. One person said, "Have you heard of the periwinkle cooking classes in near Annapolis Royal?" And it piqued my interest enough to say, "I haven't heard of it, so we'll reach out to you to find out a little more about it." But Katelyn, have you heard about this?
I have not, but that does sound super cool. Like, do you actually cook periwinkles, or is that just the name of the business? Because like both sound super cool.
Yeah, we will wait to hear back from that person. So let's just see. In the meantime, um, this was in the chat earlier as well. We provide digital marketing services. How to target customers. So they provide digital marketing services. How would they target their customers?
So, I mean, if they're providing digital marketing services, then it's really a very similar path in that who's looking for, what does your ideal customer look like? Start there and then try to get a sense of what their buying journey might look like. And so when they go to look to hire somebody to help them with their marketing, where are they hanging out? The fact that you're here today, I bet you there's a lot of people hanging out here that might be looking for help with some of their marketing after this presentation. So getting a sense of where those people might be hanging out and then showing up and providing value, that's a great way. And a lot of like everything, the nice thing about the tools that I've shared today and the kind of like high level theory that I've shared today is it really works across many different types of businesses. It just depends on for you how you might move forward with it. So, for me, we have a podcast, and so I use Spark Toro, and I go into Spark Toro and I search my own Twitter account, and I see all the other types of people that people are following on Twitter that also follow me, and then that helps me decide who should I reach out to be a guest on my podcast. So for me, that's how I use it. Whereas in the camping example, again, maybe it's they're going to these 5 places. Do those places have a bulletin board? Maybe I can put a poster up. Or maybe I can just go in and start talking to the owners of those other small businesses, letting them know a little bit about what we do so that they can help generate word of mouth. So you might end up using a lot of the same tools I shared today, but applying them differently.
All right, thank you. The questions are flying in. So how do I compete with huge, well-funded companies in search engine?
It's tough, Nir, and that's a great question. So again, you saw that for us with the barbecue box example, the competition was stiff. It was 100%. There was a lot of other brands competing for those words. And so the way you can get around that is usually by thinking of, okay, so what might be some other things that my audience might be wanting to do that are not as intent based as a search? So instead of looking for barbecue boxes, one of the other things that Jason does, and one of the things we learned about our audience, was that they would buy these boxes because, maybe it's an anniversary and somebody wanted to have a really cool meal. So they'd buy the boxes as like a surprise to their partner. Well, we also learned that they'd also tried in the past hiring private chefs to come to their house. So what I searched for in Ubersuggest was I looked up, private chefs Halifax, and that there was very low search volume on that. There was nobody spending ads on that. Well, then that might be a way for me to get in front of an audience that could be interested in our solution, even though it's a little bit of a different approach. So what I would say is spend some time thinking about, well, what else that might not be as obvious a search query could still be one that an audience that might be interested in my solution could be working for. And again, there are people that can help you with doing this type of search, but they will only be able to help you as much as you can tell them about your audience, which is why doing some of that upfront audience research work can really be beneficial.
Okay, that was helpful. So I'm seeing like a lot of questions in the chat. So if we don't get to your questions in the chat, if we miss them, put them in the Q&A, because that's probably the better place for them, because then we can make sure we address them all. Update, they are periwinkle cooking classes, so that is the follow-up there. Do you have views on Mailchimp as a channel or as an opportunity?
So I would say Mailchimp is more of a tool than a channel itself, but the channel you're talking about is email marketing. And I love email marketing. Again, it's not for every type of business and it's not for every type of founder. My husband, Jason, if he had to write all of our emails himself, would not want to do it. He doesn't love writing. So for him, that wouldn't be a channel he would want to spend time in. But there's a lot of data out there to support that for business owners it's always a good investment to be building your email list because that gives you a direct channel to be able to connect with people who have bought from you before or people who might be interested in buying from you. So what I would say is for many of you, again, if people are paying online for your for your solution, you can ask them, are you open to being put in our email list as well? And you can send out updates. What those updates look like, it'll totally depend on your style of business. You know, if you have a cranberry farm, then maybe you send out cranberry recipes. If you are if you're a business like Charboys, then maybe you send out notifications letting people that know that you're going to be doing your live cooking classes. If you have a jewelry business, maybe you're sending out updates with sales that you're doing, that sort of thing. I'm a big believer that email marketing is really effective. That being said, it does take some time. So again, like if it's something that you want to spend the time to learn and invest in, it's well worth doing. And it's, but it's one of those things that will take you a bit of time to grow.
Perfect. This question, I'm looking at developing an app. My customers are going to be different from the end users of the app. Do I look at marketing from both of those perspectives?
You do, yeah. So I have my background, I have a background in tech too. I work with a lot of high growth technology companies. What you're describing is what's called a two-sided market. So the people who actually pay for your thing are different than the people who actually use the thing. You need to know about both audiences for sure, because their motivations that they get somebody to actually take out their credit card are different than the motivations of the person who will get to use the solution. So I would say you definitely want to learn about both. If you are in the process of developing an app, then you are definitely in the right place. You should connect with the folks at Digital Nova Scotia. They're like a gateway to the digital community in Nova Scotia. And then also look into potentially becoming a Volta member. Volta is based in Halifax, so they do a lot of training as well. And that's all very app and tech specific.
Perfect. Just a follow up from the Mailchimp. I use Mailchimp as a way to expose my artwork journey with links to their website as well.
Which is great. Which is great. And so we're like, sharing with people, showing them what you're doing. Email is a nice visual medium. I know Mailchimp, along with the other kind of email marketing solutions out there, a lot of them have cool templates that can allow you to showcase your product. So if your product's visual, you can do some really nice things there.
Do you think Nova Scotia needs more quality media content to attract more people to the province?
I mean, that's a tough question because I would say that I am not the recipient of that content, right? Like for the most part, prior to the pandemic, I'm sure Nova Scotia was doing an incredible job because we've done, we're still a global destination. But I wouldn't see a lot of that content because they weren't trying to get people like me. In the last year, they've had to scramble and try to figure out, well, how do we shift gears and start marketing and messaging to people that are local, getting them to go outside of their own communities and see more. And then when we had the Atlantic bubble open, they were able to market to all of Atlantic Canada. What I would say is that I think that given the circumstances and the challenges in the world right now, that everybody's doing a pretty good job. And I think that Nova Scotians in general, we are people who love experiences. We love, getting out into nature. I think that there's probably, I think that Nova Scotia has a role in helping to do that, but I think that they also have a role in helping the operators to do more of it themselves as well, which is why workshops like this one and series like this one are so powerful, because it's one thing for it to come from Nova Scotia. As I said, some of the most powerful marketing out there is word of mouth from other people. So getting businesses to understand how they can collaborate with other businesses, how they can generate more positive word of mouth in their communities and beyond. That's a really important thing. And so putting on workshops like this one to teach people those types of approaches is really good too.
Okay, thank you. I must say this is definitely our busiest Q&A in a long time, so that's great. And if you want to check out some of the new programs, Tourism Nova Scotia has been working in partnership to create visual content as well. So we have lots of that online. We have access for tourism operators barber stock, which gives access to our photos and videos to help spruce up your online profile as long as the business qualifies. Any advice for building a following online as a new business that hasn't yet started social media?
Great question, Chelsea. And so what I would say is choose, again, the 1 or 2 channels that are going to be the ones that you want to spend your time on. And also think about, if you're thinking about social media specifically, choose 1 or 2 channels where you're going to spend your time. Again, collaborations are king. Look for opportunities to collaborate with like-minded brands that might already have your audience. That is such a win-win for business owners, and it's one of the best ways to kind of get your message out there and to start growing your audience. And also think about, again, where are people already looking for solutions like yours? Because you want to spend some time getting your product on those channels as well. So if it's TripAdvisor, if it's Facebook Marketplace, I've seen people doing some interesting things with Facebook Marketplace, where let's say that you have a furniture store, rather than they'll show a picture of a couch, and it will be a beautiful couch, but then they'll say that the price of the couch is like $10 million, which is, you're like, what the hell? What kind of couch is this? And then you click through, and it's actually they show a lot of other products that they have, and they talk about the fact, and they like that they have a variety of products, and so it's kind of a sneaky attempt to get you to realize that their store exists and that they have other solutions. So again, think a little bit about where people are already spending their time, what channels they might already be active on, and if there's a way for you to get your products and offers into those channels, in addition to growing your own following on social.
That's great. All right, we have another question. What is the difference between a marketing tool and a marketing channel? i.e., example, is WordPress a tool or channel?
Great question, Edward. So WordPress is a tool. The channel is your website. So when you think about the channel is kind of like the broader thing. So email is a channel. So, a website is a channel, whereas Mailchimp is an email tool. WordPress or Squarespace or Shopify, those are website tools. And so the channel is kind of like the bigger, broader concept, like television is a channel. And then the individual channels within television. So you have like the Food Network and I don't know many TV channels these days. CTV, those are all individual channels. Sony is the TV that you actually watch those on. So typically the channel is kind of the broader category. And then the tools are the things you might use to get up on those in those channels, get people to discover you in those channels.
Okay, thank you.
And don't forget, just one thing I want to add, when you think about channels, we're talking today, this class is all about online channels. But again, with many of your businesses, you have a huge opportunity with what's real world channels as well, right? So actually having signage in the right places in your communities, or having posters in businesses where people might be going to see aligned things. For a lot of you, the online channels are a starting place and a very important one, but you also have the benefit, which not all businesses do, of also thinking about those real world channels too.
Definitely. I mean, we have a local craft brewery in our community. They closed down because of the pandemic. They kept their tap room open, and they put up a big nice sign right when you leave the superstore, which kind of says, our beer drive-through is open, and like just kind of keeping that in mind. So it's a great opportunity. You want to keep your local business strong as well. So the questions just keep coming in. Katelyn, you're so popular. We have, let's see, so somebody asked if the presentation's available afterwards. Yes, it will be. This question, in regards to local business reach, I've noticed some businesses ask clients for a Google review, sometimes with a chance to win a prize or gift. Is this method worth the effort to ask clients to go out of their way to send a review?
I would say absolutely. Again, like people trust other people more than one of the things I say is like, when you say it about yourself, it's marketing. When somebody else says it about you, it's social proof. And we are much more likely to trust what other people say about a business or experience than we are what the business or experience says about themselves. So incentivizing reviews, which reviews are just online word of mouth, right? And again, word of mouth is so powerful. So finding a way to incentivize, of course, they have to be true and honest reviews. You don't want to pay people who've never experienced your solution to post a review. That's not fair, and it's a lot of platforms can discover if you're doing that. But if they are people who have had your experience and you want to motivate them to write a review so that you can show up higher in certain search engines, so like TripAdvisor, for instance, the more reviews you have, the more visibility you might have within that network. So absolutely do what you can to get reviews, both in person, like real reviews that you can put on your website, maybe testimonials, and also on the channels that you are using, like Facebook, Google, TripAdvisor, all of those reviews. Do what you can to get people to send them because they do make a difference.
I would completely agree with you, Katelyn. We speak about that a lot when we're dealing with businesses, and we got to keep in mind as well that they won't hesitate to put a bad review on. Like that's what motivates people if they're not happy with the business. So we really want to make sure that we get all the positive reviews we can, because, like you said, it's going to be what people look for, but it's also an opportunity for you to pull from that when you're trying to sell. When you're trying to market your business, you can say, Mary from Ohio says I'm the best kayak operator in the world, or whatever it might be. But, it really does provide an opportunity for you to help leverage your business and use some of those real world examples, because word of mouth does mean so much more to people than you just telling them it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, to get somebody to buy from you, you need to do three things. They need to know about you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. And the trust piece, people, you can pay to get people to know about you. You can spend all the money in the world on ads, and you can have a business that seems, like it's cool and like it's like, this seems like something I would like. That trust factor is the one that's going to get them to actually take out their credit card and make the purchase. And so anything you can do to help grow the trust, it can be having, logos on your website. So for instance, because Charboys has been referenced in the media, we can put like logos from CTV and Global News, and people will go, okay, like if this business has been in the news, chances are it's not just some fake internet company that's going to take my money and never send me my barbecue. So anything you can do to think about trust. We don't have time to go over it all in today's talk, but if you just Google social proof, examples of social proof, you'll see that there's actually not just reviews or testimonials. There's lots of cool things you can do to create social proof. I'll show you one cool one since we're still on my screen. Right now on Charboy's site, we use Shopify as our website platform, and I installed this little plugin which I love. It's allows you to it adds social proof. So if you look here, it'll take a second. We'll see it pop up. It shows, there it is. Someone in Dartmouth just purchased this, right? That's a little form of social proof. It'll scroll through and it will show, it doesn't say the person's name or anything, but it will say the time and when they purchased it. Since we installed this on our store, which was only about 3 days ago, we've seen a lot more people buying. And it's because it's just another example of, okay, other people trust this brand, I should trust it too. So little things like that, there's lots you can do to help with social proof.
Perfect. Okay, so I think that is great. If anyone has any questions after the fact, just send them our way, and we'll make sure we get them over to Katelyn. And we'll share everything we talked about today. So something popped in. Any comments on going to a channel like Etsy versus going alone?
You know what, Edward? I would say that channels like Etsy, they're great. Like and you can do both. You can have your own website, be trying to drive people to your own website, but being in the places where people are already looking for solutions like yours, from a marketing perspective, that makes life a lot easier. Now, of course, you're not going to make quite as much money because Etsy takes their cut too. But what I would say is, especially as a busy business owner, you want to be able to get your offering in front of people who might like it. And if people are using Etsy to search for jewelry, then that could be a really good place to be. Exactly. Go fish where the fish swim.
That's awesome. And what was the tool for social proof?
The one that what we're using, I'm blanking on the name of it. I can send it to the DNS team,
Okay.
and they can share a link to it.
Okay, well, that's great. So I am going to cut it off now because I'm sure we go on all day. It's so great, Katelyn. I really appreciate it. So just give me one quick sec. Again, we thank you so much for that great presentation and sharing those insights.
Thank you all for coming out, especially to my mom, my Aunt Liz.
Oh yeah, welcome, and I'm really excited about CB Tours as well. We've been working with them, so I'm going to take over here. All right, so we are just going to finish up this presentation. All right, so thank you again to Katelyn today. So our next webinar is Going Beyond Social Media. It's going to be Thursday, March 25th, and it's from 10 to 11. It's going to be delivered by Allison Knott from Allison K Consulting. It's free to join, share it with your friends. If you enjoyed today, really hope to see you back. Really want you to encourage you to stay connected with Tourism Nova Scotia. When we talk about what's available through Barber's Talk, the webinar series, any of the different programs we offer, everything is shared in touch. So in touch, we encourage you to sign up there. You can do that on our website. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, you can email us at tnsbusiness@novascotia.ca. Follow us on LinkedIn at TourismNS. Sorry, that's at Twitter at TourismNS. LinkedIn, follow us at Tourism Nova Scotia. Our website is tourismns.ca. Again, all the information we're discussing is there, as well as our past webinars. And our COVID-19 resources are really strong, and they are at tourismns.ca/coronavirus. So again, thank you for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and hope to see you next week. Thank you so much.